This is All Things Quick. So today we have a special project. I'm actually just waiting for some engine parts at the moment, so we're gonna be doing something in between all that. So I just received my pistons right here. I'll put a screenshot up on the screen right now to show you what they actually are with a brief description, but basically they're 9.0 to 1 compression ratio, so it's dropping down from the OEM size. They're forged, they're dished, they come with rings and pins, but I am just going to file down those pins eventually, but I have to wait for some other stuff because my engine block is in the machine shop. But here's an update to this video before we get into it. So I've got myself an Xbox 360. I've lowered my TV screen from up high to down low. I put a little shelf in here, got a few games and the console itself. So that's just a nice little addition to the garage and it's super chill. But for today, what we're gonna get doing is I'm going to be modifying this little pit bike here. What has happened is I broke the pull string on the engine, and then what had happened was I tried to remove some parts and stuff like that, and then I ended up stripping a bolt in there, and then it's just having trouble firing over even by cranking it with a drill. I'm going to fix this engine later, but I'm gonna put it aside for now. And I figured that there is a decent amount of room in this frame here. I'm probably gonna have to modify it, might have to cut some stuff, make some adapter plates and all that stuff. But what I've done is I've got myself an engine here. This is a Princess Auto Special. Basically, it is a 7.5 horsepower, 212cc engine. It's not meant for this type of stuff. It is not very rev happy and it has a low rev range, but it's definitely more powerful than the one that's in there. Overall, maybe a little more powerful, but not as high RPM as the other one. So I've got some fuel here. This is 2-stroke, however, but it's enough to just test it in the meantime because this is a 4-stroke engine. For now, it will be fine just to fill up a little bit to fire it out, crank it over, and do all that. But I'm gonna get it inside here and then I'm gonna start working on this and kind of have to mock a bunch of stuff up, but we'll see how this is all gonna fit together. All right, first things first, I'm gonna start taking things apart, like this exhaust off this bike, fuel system. I'm going to cut the zip ties on this homemade little choke that I made here. I'm going to detach things that don't need to be on there anymore, get this thing all apart, and then I think that the mounting system that's already on there right now, I'm probably gonna have to cut it up and make my own adapter plates to be able to fit this thing. And I'm pretty sure that it's gonna have to sit like pretty low because it is quite a bulky unit. And then the fuel system, I'll have to plop it somehow on the top. I don't know how I'm gonna make that work, but it's all homemade little projects, so we're gonna make it all work. Hey, just a quick shout out to E46 Dev in our Discord server for giving us a server boost and making our server great. If you want to know how to get your name shouted out in one of my videos, then definitely hit us up on our Discord server. The link is in the description. Alright, so I've got all the stuff that basically needs to come off in order to do this. I might take off that rear brake cable as well, depending where in the frame that I need to cut into. For example, this engine here, which it's still a functional engine. It's not completely, like, it's not blown or anything, so it still works, but just can't crank it over. That engine is a heck of a lot smaller than this engine. So that's what I mean where I'm saying that this engine is rev happy, where you can just rev it to the moon. This bigger one is sluggish, takes a while to get going, but it is significantly bigger than that small engine. So pretty stoked about this, just for the fact that like this is such a lightweight little bike. I think it's going to be good enough for what I need anyway. It's not like I'm hitting jumps or nothing with this. I'm just cruising around with this thing. So I'm actually considering with this whole build to see if I can't extend the handlebars out more, so like give like a 4-inch clearance on the whole thing overall, because like when I sit on this thing, like the gas tank itself just seems super close. It's in my way. It's like right in my crotch. So like I'm gonna have to have this big fuel tank, which doesn't have to be the begin all end all one. I can actually get a different one than that at some point. For right now, that's the one that's going on. So I'm gonna fit it for that, but I'm probably gonna have to do away with this whole bracket here and make it lower to the ground because this thing's pretty big. So what I'm gonna do is actually take the fuel tank off of this thing because it's gonna be above, so I don't need to fit it with that on there. However, it would be nice to, if I could just slide this thing in right there, that'd be sweet. So I'm gonna try to mock it up without the fuel tank off, but then probably I'm for sure gonna take off the exhaust, because the exhaust I'm gonna use the old one. I'm probably just gonna modify it to go sideways instead of underneath of it, because the exhaust manifold or the exhaust flange is right there on on the side of the thing. So we'll see. I'm gonna cut and weld that thing, that's fine, but I'm gonna mock this up and see what I can do with this, I guess. But for now, I'll mock it up with the fuel tank on, see how it works. Right now I'm gonna take the exhaust off for sure though, and then we'll just see if it doesn't fit, or if it looks like it's not gonna fit with the fuel tank on, then I'll take the fuel tank off and then we'll fit it that way for it to sit on top. So I'm just gonna mess around with that for a bit. So yeah, right off the hop, I don't even need to mock this up to know that this is not gonna fit. I'm wanting to do it, I'm thinking that I might flip everything over. So the brake on the back might have to, like the wheel might have to turn, flip it on the other side if I have the engine this way, in this orientation, so you crank it over on the other side. But ideally I'd like to have it this way, but just right off the hop, for sure that's not gonna fit with the fuel tank, especially. It's such a small space, like that's a big engine to fit in there. So I'm gonna have to cut these off right away just so I can get this fitment like right off the bat, and then cut this flange as well because everything will be in my way. So I've done a bunch, well, not that much, but it's been a bunch for me, probably not much for you guys because it was a time lapse. But basically what I've done here is I've extended the frame by 4 inches, and when I did that I realized that the forks were like basically straight up and down. I didn't like that, so I ended up cutting the pivot right here, pivot cylinder, whatever that's called, and then re-welding it back into there on more of an angle. I'm happy with the way it is now, and it's literally just enough room. I can slide this in here and not have to turn it the other way. I was thinking about flipping the engine around and turning it the other way, but basically I need this to be a little more to the right side because the way that the sprocket lines up with the chain. I'll move it up a bit, but I'm running out of welding wire, so I don't know how far I'm actually going to get tonight. I might have to just cut it out and do some more tomorrow, but where I'm at right now is if I move this to the right slightly, then I jack it up in place, could essentially have this engine pretty close to being mounted right about there, give or take. And then I'd have to get another chain that's pretty close, but it just doesn't reach. So thinking about using my old timing chain. I'm not sure if this, like how big this thing is. I don't know how long that is. Which one's longer? They're about the same size. I'm gonna have to figure out like how to mount this properly because yeah, I need that to be straight. So I can move it up a little bit, but not too much, or have it more straight up. Either way, I need the sprocket to line up, so that's gonna be a problem unless somehow I can flip this backwards. I don't know how this comes off, but if I can turn this to the other side somehow, then that might work. So this is what I've been getting up to right now. So I took the hub off here with the sprocket. I actually messed up and I took the snap ring out of this thing, and it ended up making all these counterweights fall out, and there's a spring inside, and it took me like 15 minutes to get it all back together, so that's stupid. But anyways, I'm going to try, quote unquote try, and see if this will work, because I don't know if it will. But basically, no, I don't know. Why is that so long like that? See, I don't want to cut it because this is my only one. So, but basically I wanted it to go like that, the sprocket on the inside. So actually, wait, that might work. Hang on a sec, because this goes inside here. That would go like, hey, it's gonna work. That's gonna flip and work. Okay, so, oh man, hopefully this actually works, because that'd be killer if it did, just like that. Okay, so that's actually epic. That's so good. So that's how it's supposed to go. I'm gonna leave that little bit of play like that. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that, but for now I'll leave that. Yeah, who knows? That's not much anyways though, so that shouldn't affect it, but hopefully that works. That way that I can put this engine the proper way. So that way I can have the engine like this on this side, and I'll just flip the sprocket on the back, and then this thing can mount pretty much up like this. The fuel tank can sit right up on top here. Oh shoot, I need some room for my feet on that though. Maybe I might have to extend those out afterwards. Dang, dude, it's not easy making custom stuff. Alright, so I know this is pretty crappy of me, but my phone was like so close to dying, so I couldn't keep recording. But this is just an update. Tomorrow I'm gonna get at actually filming and mounting some different stuff like the fuel tank and all that. But where I'm left off tonight, I have the engine in there, and I have this extended. So I've extended the frame 4 inches, and I've also made a plate underneath the engine for a mount there. This is just sitting on here freely. It's not mounted, like it's not bolted on. So that's the plate right there. This is the plate adapter right there. So I just cut this, I dropped this down and welded it in between it, and then I made this plate here. Once this engine's in here where it needs to be, I'll put some bolts here, so then I can make a hanger bracket that can support this to this, and then it can unbolt, so then when you need to move the engine out, it can actually move. And then what we're gonna have to do, which I might do before I leave, I'm not sure, but basically I've put the engine on this side, or the sprocket on this side, so I actually need to flip this whole mechanism over and then make an adapter for this, or I need to just change the brakes to the other side and the chain to the other side and basically flip the wheel upside down. But I will need to cut this bracket off and then make a new back brake on the other side. So the chain's got to go to the right side, brake has to go to the left side. Whatever way is easiest to do that, that's what I'm going to do. Also, because of the engine, how big it is, I'm going to have to cut the pedals off and then actually extend the pedals outwards on both sides just to make a little more room for my feet. But that will be tomorrow. I'm going to pack up for tonight and just leave it at that. So I will charge my phone and make sure that I bring the charger with me next time. Anyways, that's where we're left at. Sorry that I didn't film, but it's certainly coming along, and it's going to be flipping sweet when it's done. Alright, so I'm back in the garage here. This is the next day. I've just done a couple things off camera, just trying to catch my bearings about what I'm going to be doing next. I took the carburetor off here, and what I've tried to do in the meantime is I have 2 throttle bodies in here, so one on one side and one on the other side, and that's for the purpose of a choke and a throttle body pretty much. So I want to be able to control them on one basically, but I'm not even sure if that's going to work. I don't know if I need a choke separately, or if I need to just, or if I can control them at once. But basically what I have here is that when I turn one, the other one opens as well. So I'm hoping that that will be good enough as a choke to be able to start the thing and to be able to run it, because obviously when I hit wide open throttle, I want it to actually be wide open throttle. So I'm not sure if this will work, like I said, but if it does work, that's cool. So I'll just keep that like that for now, and then I'm actually gonna hook up the fuel system, and I just want to see if I can run it like this for now. If it does work, then from there I will hook it up to the throttle cable. Okay, so I tried to mess mess with that carburetor, and it's not going to work out in my favor. I'm going to have a choke and a throttle body. But I did figure out a solution with this cable. I ended up just drilling this carburetor right through that hole there, and so then I can hook up the throttle to that hole there, and then it slides in perfectly so that it can pivot it back and forth. I already tested it, but I can't do it with one hand. That's good, that will work. And then the choke I can just have on this just to open that up and close it, so that will work for now. What I'm doing right now is trying to mount up 2 bolts on the bottom. For now I'm going to weld 2 bolts to the bottom just to align this engine where it kind of needs to go. And even if it's temporary until I can get a proper fitment, what I need is to have this engine sit in this place so then I can start it up without it shaking all over the floor. Like once you start it, it just vibrates all around and you can't keep it still. So I'm gonna do that and just weld those up real quick, and then hopefully I can bolt a couple things back together and then see if I can't get it started up and working properly with that throttle. As long as I can get the throttle good, then like everything else is a breeze. So I'm just gonna get the alignment of this. Also the chain, I'm gonna have to get a custom chain for that because there's no way that will fit, but that's fine for now. As long as I can I'm trying to get it running tonight. If I can, that's awesome. So I've made some quick changes, and I think that this is probably just going to be temporary until I find out what to do on the bottom here. But anyways, I've got this bracket made for an engine mount, and then this nut welded on here for another engine mount. Problem with this is that it hits the top of the valve cover there, so I'm gonna have to put a little plate inside this so then it has a stopper so it doesn't hit that. The other side turns fine. Problem with this whole thing is that like I've been trying to align the chain properly, so that's the hardest part, is making the alignment. Also, like the plate underneath, like the mounting plate on the bottom, is so thick that I wasn't even bothering trying to drill through it. It would have taken forever. That would have been the easiest thing, just drill 4 holes in the bottom and then mount the engine from the bottom. But anyways, this is fine for now. I'm going to make a clamp of some sort on the bottom here, somehow either there or on the other side. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. Right now I'm going to get that carburetor on, and I'm going to get the throttle hooked up to it, and then from there I can start hooking up the fuel tank. So I have my throttle cable hooked up here, and it actually works. That's connected to the throttle body on the back. The choke right here is still as is. That stays like that, except why is that not working? Anyways, I gotta mess with that because that's not working, I guess. Don't know what's wrong with that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these brackets off because I don't need those anymore, and then I'm gonna mount the fuel tank right there, right on top, so then I can run the line to here, and then there's also a line that goes underneath as well. I got the fuel tank mounted. I cut that bracket off underneath, and then I ended up welding it to the side there, put some spacers in there, some washers, and mounted it up like that. This was supposed to be the ground cable, but I grounded it through here. This is just an extra mount for the engine, just for stability so it doesn't shake. But I ended up using this tie down because it's kind of lopsided, so it wants to flip up to the right there. So this just holds it down. It's got some tension on it, so it's not going to go nowhere. So I just need to run the fuel lines now, and then essentially I should be able to start it. Alright, this is good. I got the fuel lines run, putting the carburetor back on right now, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of fuel in this thing, and then I'm gonna see if I can't start this thing up. And this will be the last of what I'm doing for tonight because I'm exhausted. Hopefully this thing runs good. I hope that the throttle stays working. I got the choke to work, but for right now it's on the side, which is fine, but yeah, eventually we'll deal with that as well. It's been a long process so far, just trying to make all the fitment and everything work. So I'm gonna put this back together here and then throw fuel in it and get it going. I was just going to start this thing up for the first time, and I don't know what the heck is going on here, but I cannot move it past this point. I don't know if like somehow I have broken a rod, or I don't flipping know what's going on here, but I'm not messing with this tonight. It will probably have to come out and get taken apart and see what the heck happened here, because I can't get it past this point. So I don't know what's going on with that. Anyways, I'm going home tonight because this is frustrating the heck out of me. So today's a new day. I'm back here with this mini bike project, and yeah, last night I went home and I was actually just so tired. It was like 2 in the morning. I was just too tired to think my way through a problem. Anyways, I'm going to jump into this. I'm gonna pull the spark plug on the thing. I'm gonna try to crank it over. That's just covered in oil. Let's see if I can't crank this thing one more time. What the hell? So since that's not moving with the spark plug out, that tells me there's something else going on. So I'm gonna get inside of that crankcase there, open it up, drain some oil, and see what the heck is actually going on, because that's crazy. That's so interesting. All right, so I know exactly what happened now. I just took this crank cover off, and what I notice in here, it won't move because the connecting rod is jammed up against. And a good thing this thing's not an electric start, it's a pull start in it, because if it was an electric start, I would have broke some stuff for sure. But what had happened was there was a mechanism right on top here. That lever right there is preventing this whole rotating assembly from moving. See that? That's what it is. And guess what? I have bent this thing because I was trying so forcefully to move this. So good thing I didn't break anything else, but this is the culprit. So good news that I found it. I'm gonna get some new oil in here. This thing now moves freely, but I'm gonna have to reset this with the valves and everything. So okay, so I got the pull string cover on, and I got the spark plug back in. I got it filled up with the oil, so I'm gonna try to crank it over for the first time now and see if it will run. Also, when I'm done, if it runs, which I know it will probably run, I'm going to rewire this guy here and extend the wires so it can be up on the handlebar, so that I don't have to always reach down and turn it on or turn it off for the kill switch. So that I want to be up on the bars, basically where this kill switch was here before, but I want that one up there, or in the center, or somewhere around there, somewhere that's not right by my feet where it could kick it at any moment. All right, here it goes. First start since it's been in. Saw some flames there, boy. Maybe you guys should get this side. Saw some flames there, son. Sheesh. All right, right there. I'm gonna move this gas tank just so I don't kill myself. So again, first start since this has been in, it was just shooting some flames, so I thought I'd put it on this side because I don't have the exhaust on right now, so it's an open manifold, or open exhaust head, or whatever you want to call it on these small engines. First start, let's go. Alright, so that's good news. It runs. That's awesome. I just need to control the throttle a little better here. I'm going to see if it slipped off because I wasn't able to utilize it like I wanted to, but I'm just going to mess around with this and make sure I can get it started again, make sure that I can keep it running. And it sounded like it was revving pretty high right there, so I don't know if what I took out was a control valve or what the heck that thing was. Also, here's a fun fact. So it has literally been years since I've done anything with a small engine, and I'm not trying to use that as an excuse, but I screwed it up. And that thing that I took out earlier is the governor. I forgot that that was even a thing. Put the governor back in. It was bent. I had to bend it back. I've bypassed this by putting this governor bar back on. I lost a little pin, so I just welded it to it. Put the spring on this here, so then it returns back to idle, like once you snap the throttle. And then this bar here is attached to the throttle body, and then this is the cable that is attached to the handle. So the handle moves that goes, and then as soon as you let go, it snaps back to idle. So I'm gonna put all this back together. I'm gonna throw the oil back in it, and then hopefully I can crank this thing over, start it, and then I'm gonna leave for the night. So I got the oil back in, I got everything back together, and this is gonna be the first startup with it actually running properly. Hopefully it works good, and just like you can see here, throttle works, so that's good news. Alright, so I've been trying for a bit to get this thing going. I don't know why it's not starting again, but oh, it's a lot. I wish it was an electric start so I could just press a button. I'm tired right now, and I'm just going to leave it for tonight, and I'm going to come back another time and get it running, but it did kick over, it did fire, it did stay running. The throttle does work, so that's good news. I think I just have to figure out something with this choke, get it running, but tonight I'm done, but it is coming along. Really, what's all that's left with this is that I need to get a chain for that sprocket, and yeah, keep it running, and then put the brakes on the back, and then that's it. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, I'm heading out for tonight. I'll be back on who knows when to finish this thing.